Before we begin, I want you to actually know that this was not actually written by me. At least most of it wasn't. There is some of my input in here, but for the most part this was written by fellow YouTuber, Reviewer 1, who got in contact with me after he saw my Norty defense of the Phantom Menace. Please, when you are done watching this video, check him out. I'll put a link to his channel in the description, and this is a video response to one of his videos. Check him out. So this may take a while, so let's not waste any more time and get started. Star Wars Episode 1 The Phantom Menace is an excellent film and is really underrated. It has some flaws, and it is probably the least of the series in terms of story structure and all that, but it has a lot of complex plot lines and sets up the series very well. It has some plot holes, but not nearly as many as people say, and its characters are deep and have complex arcs and backstories and a lot of thematic depth. And a lot of people deny that, saying it's just a mindless action film. But really, a lot of its performances are simply subtle and still really complex and multi-layered. Also, with great special effects from IRM and wonderful music from John Williams, the film ends up still really great. Both Red Letter Media and Confused Matthew really misunderstood the film and were very unfair to it. First off, Matthew, Red Letter Media complained that Padme doesn't have Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan testify about the crisis. But they were sent in secret and illegally by Valorum, and so they couldn't reveal they were there. Also, Red Letter Media and Matthew complained that it is unclear why they would block the trade of the planet. Well, it was in an attempt to protest against the new taxes, which is a means of pressure on the government, and secretly to help them conquer the planet to expand their power. And so that is why they invade them, and the Naboo are dying because they are being put in camps, so they are obviously being mistreated. Oh, it sounds like the Holocaust. And they complain we don't see this. Well, we didn't see how Commandus mistreated his citizens in Gladiator, or how the Empire suppressed people in A New Hope. You know, beyond them blowing up a planet, we never saw the planet up close. This is because the details of the stakes aren't as important as the conflict. Also, they land on the other side of the planet because they want to conquer the whole world and need to spread out their forces. And Qui-Gon is planning to reach civilization first, before the Trade Federation, and that is why he goes to the Gungan city. And also at that point, he does not know they're gonna attack the Naboo, because they are sending tanks to take the cities. Also, they split up because when you can move around on your own, you can actually hide easier, and it is important that they can warn the Naboo in time, and one can do that also, and they can fight on their own against droids. Also, they can warn the Naboo on their own. Also, they sent the forces out of the city because they rely on numbers to win, so they need territory to spread out their forces, and the negotiations were to force the trade feds to stop the blockade, and if they don't succeed, the blockade will continue. Also, they can't get a transport when stuck on Naboo because they can't take the Queen in public, and stealing it apart would get them negative attention in a crime-filled city, and he can't trick someone into giving him money. Watto would realize he'd been tricked. Everyone got that so far? If you don't, too bad. Also, they say the characters are bland and have little development. Well, here's my response to Plinkett's challenge to describe the characters. Anakin grows equally over all three films. In the first film, he learns to feel comfortable in a new environment and trusts his abilities. And he, at the time, grows overly attached to the other people and becomes hurt and tainted by the Jedi's mistreatment of him. In the second film, he becomes arrogant. He becomes more hateful and obsessed with power, and becomes more rebellious. He also learns to stand on his own and keep these increasingly conflict emotions under control. And then in Revenge of the Sith, he turns to the dark side, losing faith in good, enjoying killing and revenge, giving into fear, being angry at the Jedi and Obi-Wan, and helping create the Empire. In the first two films, both his good and inner emotions grow and it matures, but it becomes more and more conflicted as the movies go on, and at the same time he loses his innocence. Padme in the first film learns to fight for the innocent, when that is their only option. In the second film, she learns to care for herself and trust her heart, stand more on her own, and at the same time be less fearful about fighting. And in the third film, she discovers she is unable to cope with Anakin's evil and that the war can just be meant for evil and loses all hope. Natalie Portman is sweet, caring, playful, rebellious, natural, and multi-layered in all her films, having a sweet voice, subtle looks of worry, being curious and supportive by looking very kindly at people, sounding very humble, talking firmly. And Count Dooku is really great in Episode 2. Christopher Lee is smooth and subtle and natural in his role. He was actually a very well-developed villain, not at all like Darth Vader. Count Dooku is delusioned with the Republic. He sees it as it is corrupt, but as such sees the Galactic Empire as a suitable replacement to create order, and he has joined the Sith as he believes that they are more capable than the Jedi, but he has allowed it to consume him as he is now power-hungry and arrogant. Like when he says, "I have become more powerful than any Jedi, even you." However, he still has a sense of compassion towards his former friends. He wants the Jedi to surrender and Obi-Wan to join him, but when they refuse and his goals get opposed to, he turns cold and sadistic. He is very manipulative as well. Talking before he fights, he is a villain with humanity and sophistication, and many of the other characters were very well developed. Mace Windu is very critical and has a harsh manner, as well as very aggressive, but he can also feel guilty, like for killing Jango Fett, and is a supportive friend. He's often worried about the situation in the Republic, very prejudiced, assuming that Dooku is innocent, as he is a Jedi, and he thinks the Jedi can support the Republic. Then he discovers the Jedi's powers have been weakened, and then he discovers that Dooku is working to destroy the Republic after all. So he then throws out his black and white beliefs and instead helps manipulate the Senate to allow them to build the army they need, using evil to fight evil. And in Episode 3, he starts to suspect Sidious is in control of the Senate. He starts to act in fear, being aggressive towards Anakin and asking him to spy on Palpatine, and eventually considering taking control of the Senate and even killing Palpatine, acting out of fear, and this becomes his downfall, similar to Commissioner Gordon in The Dark Knight. Obi-Wan was critical, orthodox, yet also comforting. He was calm, warm, smooth, worried, angry, prejudiced, and jokey, but also unconfident, pretty similar to how he was in Episode 4. Also, Anakin was likable. He complains because Obi-Wan is too harsh a master and the Jedi are very rejective towards him. This is understandable and justified, and he tries to work on his rebelliousness, and does care for Obi-Wan. The Sand People were animals. That is why Anakin killed them, and Padme was okay with it. I mean, they don't talk, or show individuality, or complex comprehension, or self-awareness, or compassion, or deeper emotion. And Lars said they weren't human. Anakin is only aggressive when people hurt him. Also, he cares for the Republic, is nice and caring towards Padme and his mom, and is evil, even still close with Obi-Wan. He saved both Padme and Obi-Wan several times throughout the movies. He fought Dooku, saved the Chancellor from the droids, he fought the droids in the arena, and helped the clones in the larger battle. He is very nice to Padme, supporting her and comforting her, and he gives a very heartfelt burial speech for his mom, and the only moment he is aggressive to Padme is when he insults him, and he is very respectful to the Chancellor, and he is also close and nice to Obi-Wan many times. He's just rebellious and frustrated like John Connor in T2, Luke Skywalker in the original trilogy, or Riggs in Lethal Weapon, or Harry Potter in, well, Harry Potter. So Anakin is very likable and understandable. Back to just Phantom Menace. The film has a lot of thematic depth to it and has many themes that go throughout all three films. It inspired many of the themes in films like Finding Nemo, Spider-Man 2, and the Dark Knight trilogy. Also, almost all of the themes in the prequels are in all three films and are built upon in each and the next film. So they really make them one story. They have the very deep themes about society being destroyed by letting evil slide, like in The Dark Knight. In Episode 1, Chancellor Valorum sent 2 Jedi Knights illegally to force the blockade to put a stop to, which only accelerates the invasion and only makes the situation worse. And the blockade isn't stopped because the Senate is too decisionless to decide, and many senators are corrupt and under influence of the Trade Federation and the Commerce Guilds. So some let evil slide because of money, and Valorum uses some smaller evil himself out of lack of ability to get the Senate support, and he later on can't immediately do something about the invasion because he doesn't have enough authority in the Senate due to being accused of corruption, and wants to wait allowing people to die to not offend people and stay in charge and get the best out of the situation, being able to solve it that way, because if he offends people he might lose all power. So the politicians are corrupt and only care for money, and as a result let the evil slide, and the non-corrupt politicians have less power due to its corruption and use evil themselves to do something, which only makes the situation worse because it only creates escalation, and as a result they can only try to compromise with the corruption. And as a result, the only way Padme can save her people is by betraying Valorum her way and allowing Palpatine to take over. So apathy and corruption make it that people can't trust the system. It leads to good people having less power, leaving the innocent without support, and therefore they have to betray their allies, and in the end Palpatine gets power because it is only someone evil who is willing to act and take the risk of getting criticized and not get money. It is apathy that is the problem. Another theme that is brilliant, which inspired many films, mostly Batman Begins, is his theme of fear. In Episode 1, Anakin is very scared to lose his mother, and has a great trouble letting go of her, and quickly starts to be over-attached to Padme as well. And he becomes stressed and a bit angry. His fear causes him to become very sad and stressed and insecure, and not feel comfortable in his new environment. It made him more unable to pursue his dreams and very attached to others. Fear made him unhappy and too attaching, and as a result made him less able to enjoy his life and constantly worry. He allowed the emotion to control him, and he wasn't properly able to move forward in life, as he even feared the most normal things as saying goodbye to people, and he had to overshadow his actual love, and wasn't able to accept normal changes, even when they happened, and he allowed it to make him completely depressed. So we see that if we can't accept the course of fate, our love can just be painful, and we can allow it to consume us and make us unhappy. And it's an inability to accept life that way. It is something we really saw analyzed in Finding Nemo as well, and in Batman Begins, with fear holding people back and making them less loving, and the casting of Liam Neeson as an ambitious mentor was no coincidence.